These stories were submitted by real people. Names are changed for privacy, but the events are real. Story 1. The 24-hour drive-thru stalker. This happened in 2018 to a girl I'll call Emily. She was 17, working part-time at her local McDonald's. Like most high schoolers, she picked up shifts after class and on weekends. Her least favorite was closing, Friday and Saturday nights until 2 a.m. The store was in a suburban strip mall. Bright parking lot lights, big yellow arches, and a 24-hour drive-thru. On this particular night, she was scheduled until close. There were 3 other people on shift, another cashier, a cook, and the night manager. Everything felt normal until around 12:45 a.m. Emily noticed a dark sedan pull into the lot. The driver didn't go straight to the speaker box. He parked in one of the farthest spaces, engine running, headlights off. She thought maybe he was on the phone, but 10 minutes later, he drove slowly around the building, then parked again. 15 minutes after that, same thing. Circle, park, wait. When he finally pulled up to the drive-thru speaker, he didn't order food. He just sat there. Emily said hello through the headset. "Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order?" Static. Then silence. After 30 seconds, the sedan pulled forward to the window anyway. Emily slid it open and asked, "Can I help you?" The driver just stared. Mid-30s, scruffy beard, baseball cap pulled low. He didn't say a word. After a full 10 seconds, he drove off, without ordering anything. Most customers leave after that. But this man didn't. For the next hour, he circled the lot over and over. Sometimes parking, sometimes pulling up to the menu board and idling without speaking. By 1:30 a.m., Emily was nervous. She asked the night manager if they should call police. He brushed it off, probably just drunk. We closed soon anyway, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the man's eyes followed her whenever she stepped near the window. Finally, at 1:55 a.m., the doors were locked, and Emily and her coworkers began cleaning. She grabbed her backpack, clocked out, and stepped outside into the cool night air. Her car was parked near the back of the lot. As she walked, headlights flicked on. The same sedan rolled slowly toward her, crunching over the asphalt. The window slid down. The man leaned out, smiling faintly, and in a low voice he said, "I've been waiting for you." Emily froze. For half a second she thought maybe she misheard, but then the car inched closer, tires rolling like it was trying to box her in. Her survival instincts kicked in. She turned and sprinted back to the McDonald's door. Her coworker, still inside, saw her running and unlocked the door just as she reached it. She stumbled in, gasping. Through the glass, they watched the sedan creep past, the driver staring in. Then he hit the gas and sped out of the lot. If your heart just sank imagining that moment, hit like right now. It helps push these true horror stories to more people, and maybe makes someone think twice the next time they leave work late at night. The manager called police immediately. 2 officers came, took Emily's statement, and reviewed the store's exterior cameras. They saw the sedan. They saw it circling the building for nearly an hour. They saw it following Emily to her car, but the plates were unreadable. The man never came inside, never interacted beyond those chilling words. "I've been waiting for you." Police told Emily and her parents to be cautious. For weeks, she avoided closing shifts. She checked her mirrors constantly when she drove home. The sedan never returned. To this day, Emily doesn't know who he was or what he wanted. But what keeps her up isn't just the encounter. It's the realization of how close she came to walking straight into his car, alone, at 2 a.m. Now, Whenever she passes a McDonald's late at night, the memory comes back. The glow of the arches, the hum of the fryer, and that voice through the window, whispering words she'll never forget. "I've been waiting for you." That was the drive-thru stalker, proof that sometimes the danger waits outside, but other times, it's locked behind a door that won't open. Story 2. The bathroom door. This happened in 2014 to a man I'll call Jason. He was driving cross-country, pulling off the interstate late at night to rest and refuel. Around 11:30 p.m., he spotted the familiar golden arches glowing in the dark. The parking lot was mostly empty, except for a couple of truckers. Inside, the restaurant was quiet, with only one cashier behind the counter. Jason ordered a burger and coffee, then headed straight to the restroom. The men's room had 2 stalls. One was open. The other was locked. Jason figured someone was inside. He chose the open stall, used it quickly, and left. But 20 minutes later, as he finished eating, he noticed the same stall was still locked. He thought nothing of it, until another customer went in, rattled the door, then came out frowning. "Someone's been in there a long time," the man said. By midnight, employees began to notice too. One knocked on the door, no answer. Another bent down to check for feet. "Yeah, someone's in there," she said, but the person wasn't moving. By 12:30, a foul odor started to spread. Not just a bathroom smell, something heavier, metallic, rotting. Customers complained. Staff sprayed air freshener, but it did nothing. Finally, the night manager decided enough was enough. He called the non-emergency police line and reported an unresponsive person in the restroom. When officers arrived, they knocked on the stall. No reply. They ordered the occupant to respond. Silence. So they forced the door open. Inside was a man slumped against the wall, his head tilted back, his body pale. He was clearly dead. But there was something stranger. His pockets were turned inside out. His wallet was gone. His shoes were missing. It looked less like he had died in the stall, and more like someone had left him there. Police immediately checked the McDonald's security cameras. The footage showed the man walking into the restroom around 10:15 p.m., alone. But here's the part that chilled Jason most. In all the hours after, no one was ever seen leaving that stall. No second figure went in. No one carried anything out. The man simply walked in alive and was later found dead. The wallet, the shoes, the missing items, they were never explained. The restaurant closed for the night. Customers were forced to leave. Police worked the scene until dawn. Jason, shaken, finished his coffee in the parking lot while officers moved in and out. Eventually, he drove away, still replaying the details in his head. The locked door, the silence, the smell. Days later, he searched local news reports. The death was mentioned, but only briefly. The article described it as sudden and under investigation, with no foul play suspected. But Jason had seen enough that night to know something wasn't right. To this day, no one knows exactly how that man died, or why his belongings disappeared. All Jason knows is this. Now, whenever he stops at a roadside McDonald's, he avoids the restrooms if he can, because once you've eaten a meal with the smell of death wafting down the hallway, you never forget it. If these first 2 stories already made your stomach drop, hit like right now. It helps push these real horror cases out to more people, and might make someone look twice the next time they grab food late at night. Story 3. The PlayPlace Incident. This happened in 2017 to a woman I'll call Rachel. She was a single mom with 2 young kids, ages 6 and 8. On a rainy Saturday afternoon, she decided to take them to the local McDonald's. It had an indoor PlayPlace, the kind with bright plastic tunnels stacked to the ceiling, and a small seating area where parents could sip coffee while their kids played. The place was busy. Families filled the booths. Kids ran wild through the maze of tubes, and the smell of fries hung in the air. Rachel ordered food, set down her tray, and let her kids run off to play. At first, everything felt normal until she looked up. Above one of the tallest tunnels was a ceiling vent. Unlike the others, this one didn't sit flush. The metal grate hung slightly crooked, screws missing on one side. She frowned. Maybe it was just loose. But then she noticed something else. The faintest rustling sound, like movement inside the duct. She brushed it off, thinking it was the AC. But 10 minutes later, her son came running over. "Mom, someone's up there." Rachel froze. "What do you mean?" Her son pointed toward the tunnel. "We heard scratching, like someone crawling in the ceiling." Rachel walked over and stood under the vent. For a moment, all she heard was the chaos of kids. Then, there it was again, a faint shuffling, like knees dragging across metal. Other parents started to notice too. One muttered, "Must be a raccoon." But when Rachel looked closer, she saw a small glow through the slats of the vent. A faint orange flicker, like the tip of a cigarette. Rachel went straight to the counter and told an employee. The girl behind the register looked confused but sent the shift manager to check. He climbed onto a chair, shined his phone flashlight into the vent, and cursed under his breath. Inside were wrappers, cigarette butts, and what looked like a rolled-up sleeping bag shoved against the duct wall. Someone had been living inside the PlayPlace ceiling. The manager immediately shut down the PlayPlace and called police. Parents pulled their kids out of the tunnels, confused and nervous. When officers arrived, they unscrewed the vent fully and crawled in with flashlights. What they pulled out sent shivers through everyone watching. They dragged down the sleeping bag, piles of wrappers, empty soda cups, and even a small notebook filled with scribbles. The most disturbing part? On one page, in all caps, were the words, "I like to watch." Rachel gathered her kids and left, shaken. But the story didn't end there. A week later, local news ran a brief article. Police believed a transient man had been sneaking into the PlayPlace ceiling at night, hiding there during the day, and climbing out after hours. They never caught him. The McDonald's sealed the vent, repainted the PlayPlace, and quietly reopened it a month later. No mention of the notebook was made in the news. To this day, Rachel can't walk into a McDonald's without looking up at the ceiling first. The thought that her children had been crawling just feet below a hidden squatter still makes her sick. And the notebook? She'll never forget those words. "I like to watch." That was the PlayPlace incident, a reminder that even spaces built for children aren't always safe. But sometimes, the ones in danger aren't customers at all. They're the employees. Story 4. The Closing Shift. This happened in 2019 to a 24-year-old night manager I'll call Mark. He worked at a small McDonald's in a quiet town, the kind of place that stayed open until 1 a.m. on weekends, then shut down for cleaning. That night, only 3 people were on shift: Mark, 1 cook, and a cashier. By 12:30, the dining area was empty, the fryers cooling down, and the crew finishing cleanup. Mark went to check the back door, the one where deliveries came in. He made sure the bolt was locked, then returned to the office to run closing reports. 10 minutes later, someone knocked. It wasn't a tap. It was loud, steady pounding. Mark pulled up the back door camera on the monitor. Standing there was a man in a delivery uniform. cap pulled low, reflective vest, clipboard in hand. The problem: there were no deliveries scheduled that night. Mark grabbed the intercom and said, "We're closed. Come back tomorrow." The man didn't move. He just kept knocking, louder. Finally, he turned and looked straight into the camera. His expression was blank. Then he walked out of frame. Mark felt uneasy. He flipped through the cameras. Parking lot empty. Dining area empty. Hallways clear. Then he glanced back at the kitchen feed. His stomach dropped. The man was standing inside the building. Mark froze. How had he gotten in? Every door was locked. The cook and cashier hadn't noticed anything. The man wasn't moving. Just standing in the kitchen, half hidden in the shadows. Clipboard gone, his hands at his sides. Mark grabbed the phone, dialed 911, and whispered that someone was inside the restaurant. Dispatch told him to stay calm, stay hidden, and officers would arrive in minutes. Mark ducked into the office, locked the door, and watched the cameras. The intruder walked slowly through the kitchen, pausing at counters, opening a fridge, closing it again, almost like he was looking for something. At one point, he stood in front of the office camera, staring directly into it. Mark held his breath. The office door was the only thing between them. Then the intruder turned away, disappearing off screen. Minutes later, flashing lights filled the lot. Officers entered through the front. Mark rushed out of the office to meet them. But when they swept the building, the intruder was gone. No signs of forced entry, no broken locks, nothing stolen. The only thing they found was the delivery shirt, crumpled on the kitchen floor. The sleeves were stained with something dark. Police questioned the crew. Nobody had let the man in. Nobody saw him leave. Mark replayed the CCTV footage for them. But when they tried to export the last 10 minutes, the system froze. That portion of the video corrupted. The officers left with the shirt as evidence, telling Mark to call again if anything else happened. The next day, corporate asked for a report, but brushed it off as probably a trespasser. Mark never saw the man again, but he never forgot the moment the camera showed him standing in the kitchen, clipboard gone, staring into the lens. To this day, he double-checks every lock before closing, because he knows one thing for sure. That man didn't want food. He wanted to be inside, and for a few terrifying minutes, he was. That was the closing shift intruder. Proof that uniforms don't always mean safety. But the scariest stories of all, they don't happen at night. They happen in broad daylight, when families least expect it. Story 5, The Happy Meal Stranger. This happened in 2021 to a woman I'll call Laura. It was a weekday afternoon around 3 p.m. She picked up her 7-year-old son, Evan, from school and decided to stop at McDonald's for a quick meal before heading home. The place was busy but not chaotic. A few teenagers in the corner, some workers on their lunch break, and 2 families in the PlayPlace area. Laura ordered Evan a Happy Meal and herself a coffee. They sat near the front windows, bright sunlight pouring in. At first, everything felt perfectly normal. While Evan unwrapped his toy, Laura noticed a man sitting alone 2 tables away. Mid-40s, unshaven, wearing a hoodie pulled tight despite the warm day. He had no food in front of him, just a small cup, half empty. And he wasn't looking at his phone, he wasn't reading, he was watching. Every time Laura glanced over, his eyes were locked on Evan. Laura felt uneasy, but tried to ignore it. Maybe he was just zoning out. But 10 minutes later, as Evan got up to throw away his trash, the man stood too. He walked casually to the trash can beside him and leaned down. Laura heard him whisper, Your mom told me to take you to the car. Evan froze. Laura bolted up, heart racing. Evan, come here now. Her son ran back to the table, eyes wide. The man straightened up, expression flat. Then, without a word, he turned and walked quickly toward the exit. Laura's hands shook as she hugged her son. What did he say? Evan repeated it, trembling. He said you told him to take me to the car. Laura grabbed her phone and ran to the counter, telling the staff what happened. The manager immediately called 911 and locked the doors. But by the time police arrived, the man was gone. Officers reviewed the security footage. It showed the man sitting alone for nearly 2 hours before Laura and Evan arrived. He barely moved. He didn't eat, he didn't drink. He just sat, watching families. When Evan walked to the trash can, the man leaned in, lips clearly forming the words Laura's son repeated. Then he left, pulling his hood tight as he walked out of camera range. No car, no license plate, just gone. Police took Laura's statement and promised to increase patrols near that McDonald's. But what unsettled her most was what they told her quietly afterward. There had been 2 other reports of similar incidents in the area. Strangers approaching kids in public places, trying to lure them away with excuses like, "Your mom sent me." The suspects always disappeared before officers arrived. The staff at that McDonald's were shaken. One worker said he'd seen the man there before, sitting for long stretches without ordering anything. Another claimed he'd once followed a family out to the parking lot, then turned back when the parents noticed. Yet, somehow, no one ever thought to call police before. To this day, Laura doesn't know who the man was or what would have happened if Evan had believed him. She never returned to that McDonald's. She never lets her son go to the trash can alone anymore. And every time she passes those bright golden arches, she remembers the man with the hood, sitting alone for hours, waiting for the right family to walk in. Those were 5 true McDonald's horror stories. The golden arches may feel safe, but as you've just heard, sometimes the most ordinary places hide the darkest encounters. And if you're still here, you're one of us, the ones who stay until the very end. Subscribe, hit the bell, and don't miss the next nightmare.